In this concept video, we're going to be finding the amplitude and period from a graph. I've drawn some helper lines in here, and I'd like you to do the same as well. These helper lines, the green one here at the top is called the top line. I'll make a note of that actually in green here. So this is the top line. And then we'll move this up a little bit so you can see it a little better. We're going to call this the bottom line on the bottom. So the top line just connects all the top of the peaks, or the tops of the graph, the maximum values if you'd like to use that terminology, and then the minimum values right here will be on the bottom line, or the valleys. I've also drawn a line here in orange, and in orange this one is called the midline. This function happens to be, the midline happens to be right on the x-axis. That's not always the case. However, in this one it seems to be the case. The midline, of course, just splits the top and the bottom line. It's the middle of the graph. So let's talk about finding the period from this graph. We've talked about this a little bit before in some of the previous videos, but I just want to reiterate this to you. And let's imagine that we're right here at 0, 0, and we want to know what the distance is in terms of the x or the theta, the angle values here. How long does it take for the y values to fully repeat? So if we follow this graph, we're going to go up here to 3, and then back down to 0, down to -3. So 3 and -3 are different y values. We have to keep going. And then up to, at 4 pi, we're back up to 0. And then this section of the graph just repeats again and again and again. So it's going to be this distance here that we're going to want to list as the period. So the period for this function appears to be 4 pi. Let's take a look at the amplitude. And it might be a new thing for you. So let's discuss that real quickly. The amplitude is simply the distance from the midline to the top line, or if you prefer, you can go top line to bottom line and then divide by 2. So it's going to be this distance from here to here. In this graph, the midline is at 0, the top line is at 3, so we can say that the amplitude is 3. So remember, the amplitude is only half of the total height of the graph, and it's the y value or the height from the midline to the top line, or if you prefer, you could have gone from the midline to the bottom line. That value will be, of course, the same, and for this graph it's 3.